All right, Bezrat Hashem. We start. We are Perek Yud Bet, Pasuk Yud Gimel. Sefatayim Mokesh Ra. With a sinful speech, the Rad, the evil man, traps. Vayetze mitzarat tzaddik, and the tzaddik escapes from any trouble. The Gaon says the following: the nature of somebody that wants to hurt of the Rasha, of the Ra, yes, and that wants to do bad to someone, is number one, to make sure that he's undetected. Number two, that he uses the right language and the right approach to get to accomplish his plan. And to do so, he needs to gain the person's heart. Yes. So number one, hide his intention. Number two, speak the right language. And number three, gain the person's trust and his heart. And then number four, implement his original evil plan. This is what Shlomo HaMelech says, Befesha sefatayim mokesh ra. Yes?
What was number two?
Huh?
You said hide his intention.
Use the correct language.
The speech, speak like a soft language, speak the right language to that person. Number three, gain his heart, his trust. And number four, implement the plan, the evil plan. However, in every of these plans, there is a aftaha, there is a protection to the people. And what's that protection? It's a mokesh, it's a trap. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu will make sure that the Rasha always slips. He will make a mistake in what he says, and he will slip. He will say something that indicates that there's an evil plan. Therefore, the tzaddik, he knows how to read in between the lines. He knows how to understand the nuances and the subtlety of the language. Therefore, he escapes the tzara. Which means that the tzaddik has the I don't want to say an extra sense, but has the edge, the ability through his tzidkut, through his emet, to detect the sheker. Yeah, that's along the lines of what we spoke about in the previous shiurim, right? That's number one. And number two, in every ra, in every evil plan, HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes sure that there's a mistake. And that's now up to the people to have the clarity, the emed, the siyata dishmaya, the awareness to catch on to it. Good? Pasuk Yud Dalet. מפרי פרי איש ישבע טוב. From the fruit of the mouth of a man, the person is satisfied, sated with good. וגמול ידי אדם ישיב לו. And the actions of a man is paid to him, is repaid to him. Says the Gaon, there are a lot of dikdukim, there are a lot of very fine print in that pasuk, but he chooses to focus on one. He says, why in the beginning of the pasuk we talk about the ish, the fruit of the mouth of the ish, but when we talk about the actions, we talk about the repaying of the deeds of the Yede Adam, of Adam. What's the difference between Ish and Adam? He says Ish is someone that has presence, that has high values, that is at the top and the elite of society by his behavior and his traits and his knowledge. And he brings מקורות, עליכם איש מקרא, הלא איש אתה, מי שמך לאיש שר ושופט, right? והאיש משה, משה היא אש האלוקים. איש is a high title given to men. So says the Gaon, we have an obligation, בכל מקום שאין איש תשתדל להיות איש. Chazal tells us that we have an obligation to rise to the level of ish in situations that people don't step up to the plate. Be the one that's machriya, be the one that actually makes things move. Influence, impact. But in this specific pasuk, says the Gaon, that Shlomo HaMelech is coming to teach us about the responsibility of tochacha, of rebuke. He says a man should always be in the position of an ish when he's coming to rebuke a friend or someone that's doing something bad. And mimay nafshach, he should do it, whether the person is gonna listen to him or not. And he says, and this is what Shlomo HaMelech is talking about that ish that knows how to be mochiach, that is mochiach. Now we did address the fact that the Akiva and already and the Chachamim told us that we don't know if there's anybody that can accept the rebuke today. We don't know if there's anybody that knows halachot of how to rebuke. But in any case, there is an obligation to get involved and try to impact and influence someone to become better and to refrain from doing bad. And once again, even if we think the person is not going to listen. And that must come from a place of ish, from a place of greatness within the person, not Khalila from a place of Adam. And we're going to talk about what's Adam. So when a person wants to influence, he needs to first rise, right? Through his midot, through his values, and from a place of greatness, impact and influence. Now, what is the outcome? He says, if the person listens and you're successful in influencing the person, now Zachita. Why? Because now all the good deeds that the person will do and all the chizuk that he gets and what he refrains himself from doing not good, you capitalize on all those mitzvot. They're all yours. You get benefit for all of them. That's if he listens. And says again, it's as if all these mitzvot, you did it yourself. כאילו הוא עשה בעצמו. That's if he listens. Now, what happens if he doesn't listen? Okay, he didn't listen, but you get sachar, you still get the reward for trying. And here he brings a motivational add-on from the Ari HaKadosh in the Sha'ar HaGilgulim in the Akdama Kaf. He's like, if a person is mochiach, if a person is rebuking to a Rasha, and the Rasha doesn't want to listen, something crazy happens. There is a swap that happens at that moment. All the averot of the rebuker goes on the rebuked, on the Rasha, and all the mitzvot of the rebuked goes on the rebuker. You hear that?
Why?
What?
Yeah, why? Why? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's the Arizal. Why? Because when you expose the person to want to do good, you put yourself in a vulnerable place and in a place where you can be attacked. So that you're, in a way, you're moser nefesh, right? So you're sacrificing yourself for the benefit of the person. Now, the person rejects that. So you sacrifice yourself for his good. So really, you acquired his good. You sacrifice yourself for it. Okay? Now, the person, he rejects that. Yes? So what happens when he rejects that? So he favors, not favors, he forgives, okay, the good that's in him, because he doesn't want it. He doesn't want the rebuke, right? So to him, it's not valuable. But mitzad sheni, the guy sacrificed himself. So he became one with you. So now you carry his averot.
It's Lashon Hara the other way around.
Bravo. There's the other place where we find the same concept is in Lashon Hara. When you speak Lashon Hara about someone, Chazal tell us that you swap again. And Lechaora, when you think it's the same thing. Because when you speak Lashon Hara, what do you focus on? You're willing to sacrifice yourself to expose the Ra of the person, right? So by default, you're attached now to his Ra, yes, and you forgive your good. So you validated his Ra as more important than your good. So your good that's not important goes to him, and the bad that you validated by exposing and focusing on that comes to you. The Ari HaKadosh, the Ari Kadosh. So comes the Gaon and says from the Ari Kadosh, we understand how valuable it is and important it is to rebuke, and not to stay passive and silent when you see something that's not good. It says this is what the Gemara says in Masechet Chagiga, Ken, Notel Chelko v'Chelek Chavero b'Gan Eden. That the person, when the person rebukes, he takes his chelek and he takes the other person's chelek in Gan Eden. That's what he carries with him. And the Rasha, he takes your averot to Gehinam. So he says, this is who we are talking about. We're talking about the rebuker. Shlomo HaMelech, he's telling you like this, Miperi pi ish, from the mouth, right? From the fruit of the mouth of the ish. From that ish, when you elevate yourself to be a ish and to rebuke from your words, from the tochachot that you make, from the rebuke that you give, is balachem, right? Is batov. You get satisfied from the tov, but from which tov? Not from your tov, from the tov of the rebuked. So if he listens, that's the end of the pasuk. Ugmul yedei adam yashiv lo. Right? Now, if he listens, the gmul, the benefits of the actions of the man, of the adam, who's the adam, the rebuked? He's the adam. So the gmul yedei adam, for the benefits of the yedei adam, of the actions of the rebuked, yashiv lo, goes back to him, goes back to the ish. You understand? Here, Shlomo HaMelech, based on the Hidush of the Gaon, shows us the mechanism of what happens when, first of all, of what it takes to rebuke, and what happens when you rebuke. So you come out positive no matter what.
So
Yes.
well, now we need to add to study Alachot rebuke.
Yes, we have to put it on the list.
To do it good, because
Yes,
we have to do it right.
נכון, אמת.
But it also shows you the importance of doing the rebuking the right way. Like we said earlier.
Absolutely. That's the key word of ish, right? That's the ma'ala of the ish. You cannot stam rebuke. You have to be ish in order to rebuke. But it's worth being an ish because of all that outcome.
Yeah, you get that.
I would think that the hardest part of being Ish is making sure that you don't cross the line of Gava.
Absolutely. Actually, I just arrived at my location. 1 minute. Let me put you on pause. So we're going to continue. We have a few minutes. Derech Evil. So this pasuk is clear? Derech Evil Yashar Be'enav. The ways of the fool, we're going to understand, are straight to his eyes. Veshomea le'etza hacham. And the one that listens to advice is the chacham. He says, what's the definition of the evil, of the fool here? He says the evil is the mevuhal, is the one that does things behala. Right. That does, like behala is in
Haste.
haste. Yeah, haste. Hasty.
Quickly and doesn't
Quickly
think.
without thinking.
Without thinking.
Without thinking.
Hastily.
Hastily. Yes. And he says, and therefore, because he's doing things quickly and he doesn't think, whatever comes in his mind comes, at the moment, it seems to be right. It seems to be good. It seems to be the right thing. And therefore, because he's so quick and it seems to be good, he doesn't listen to any advice. And he's not receptive to any advice. However, yes. Okay. Andy, you have a question? Okay. However, the Chacham doesn't react like that. The Chacham wants Etzah. So he listens, he looks for the Etzah. And he doesn't do anything until the mityashev, until it sits down and it's well thought out. And he goes out of his way to be shoel etzah from a chacham acher. The chacham goes and asks from another chacham to make sure that he's right and the decision is good. Why? Because the Torah tells us, "Machshevot ha'adam ra kol hayom, yetzer lev ha'adam ra mineurav." We know that the tendency of man is bad. We know that the machshavot are twisted. It's the nature of man. Therefore, when you analyze something on your own, you have to be careful and ask yourself, is it the right way? How do I know if it's the right way? Maybe it is. I need to bounce the idea and the thought process with another Chacham to make sure that the Yetzer Lev Adam Ra Mineurav and Machshavot can Adam Ra Kol Hayom did not contaminate the thought process. Now says the Gaon, Derech Evil Yashar Be'enav. When we talk about the Mevuhal, the hasty, right? His ways are straight to his eyes. But the Chacham listens to advice. So what you see here that Shlomo HaMelech highlights the sight and the hearing. Why? Because we know that the eyes and the ears are the two senses and the two kelim used for the Torah Kedosha. The eyes, the Torah Shebichtav, and the ears, the Torah Shebe'al Peh. Right? You learn with your eyes Torah Shebichtav, and you hear with your ears Torah Shebe'al Peh. The eyes give, the ears listen. How is that? Your sight exposes you to read, but your ears can only listen from a different source. And so the eyes are the zachar, the male gives, and the ears are the nekeva, they receive.
But you could say that the eyes also receive from an external. You receive from a book or from and you receive to the brain.
Correct. You could say that. You could say that. Aval, nachon. You can say that, but your eyes, the second you open them, you can see anything. But the ear, there has to be a source of that creates a sound to you, okay, or out there for you to see. it's active, where the eyes, your sight is active, but what you see is passive. You understand? Where the sound is active and your hearing is passive. You cannot decide not to hear.
That's the point.
But you can decide not to see. So you're proactive on the sight, but you're passive on the hearing. So proaction is given to the male, to the zachar. Reception and passive, the klikibul, the vessel, is given to the female, to the nekeva. That's the ducha and nugva of the sfirot, the giving and receiving. Now, comes Shlomo HaMelech and tells us, derech evil, the fool, the mevual, the hasty, whatever he sees, he thinks it's right. Why? Because his sight is what he sees. Yes, to him is what is good. He's whatever he sees in front of him. If it sounds like straight, they must speak. Why? Because the fool lives through his eyes. What does it mean he lives through his eyes? He's always on the proactive side, on the giving side. So he's not making himself a vessel to receive and to grow from what he receives. You know, it's like those people that they love to talk and they never want to listen. So Melech says, but the Chacham, Shomea, the Chacham makes himself a vessel. The Chacham is the one that doesn't, that wants to receive more than giving. But that he can be, he's a giver. But to him, what's important is to receive. And that's what we say. We said that Tnu'im Chokhmah. The Chokhmah belongs to the Tzanua, to the one that has Tzniut, the one that knows how to make himself a vessel to receive, to learn. Zanav la'arayot, ve'al tehi rosh la'shu'alim. You're better off to be the tail of the lions and don't be the head of the foxes. Comes Shlomo HaMelech with a tremendous lesson. Learn to shut your mouth and listen. Be the Chacham and the one that absorbs information instead of be the one that always talks. Vadai, that it depends on the situation. You have an obligation to teach and you have an obligation to talk. But when you can learn, when you can receive or you need to receive, learn to be quiet. Yes, Andy, you have a question.
No, the Pirkei Avot, if the word is value 1, to the silence is 2. No, something.
I didn't find anything better than to the body than to be quiet. Why? Because that's how you absorb, that's how you learn, that's how you grow. But obviously, we're not talking about extremes here. Yes, because to each their own responsibility. Good. Pasuk Tet Zayin. Evil bayom yivada ka'aso. The fool, on the same day that he's upset, you know that he's angry. V'choseh kalon arum. But the arum, the clever one, is the one how to be mechaseh, how to cover his kalon, his humiliation. In 2 words, you have to learn to control your emotion and not expose your feelings as they come. Says again, the evil, says the Gaon, the mevual, the hasty. The second something bothers him, he's vexed, he's upset, he's attacked, he's whatever, like he's unhappy. He expresses, he unleashes, he shows his emotion, he shows his anger, and it's exposing his vulnerability and his weakness of self-control. That's a fool. That's the definition of a fool. Again, Shlomo HaMelech brings forward the definition of the evil, of the mevuhal. It's somebody that cannot control his emotion. And he's also somebody that cannot control himself. And when the situation comes, he thinks he's right, and boom, he jumps in without thinking it through. So these are points of references of the fool, of the hasty. V'choseh kalon arum. The arum, right? The clever, it's okay. So the arum, the clever, is the one that knows how to hide his humiliation, how to hide his and how can you control this emotion? Says the Gaon, only if you master your nefesh, only if you're in control of yourself. Says Shlomo HaMelech uses a very interesting word to determine the person that controls his emotion. He calls him the arum, clever. The who's also called arum in the Torah? The nachash, right? The nachash, what's the definition of the arum? Is someone that can play a poker face. Someone that pretends that there's nothing when there's something. He makes himself like he's deaf, like he doesn't understand, he doesn't know nothing. A poker face. And he continues his way. He doesn't share, he doesn't reveal anything. Says Shlomo HaMelech, we need to learn to be in control to the point where the mastering of our nefesh is to a level that could be determined as a arum. Is the ability to contain any emotion and disconnect the emotion from the body language. This is the level of mastering of our emotions that we need. Yes.
Only in cases of humiliation or all? Why is he specifically talking about humiliation here?
Because the humiliation is essentially the most degrading situation a person can be. And therefore, this is a situation where the person has the most good reason to react. Ka'as is ka'as. But when somebody humiliates, okay, it's the easiest and the most rationalized situation where a person can say, I need to react. So on that specific situation, we tell you, control yourself. Yasad eretz al belima. Chachamim says, En ha'olam mitkayem ela abolem piv. Right? We know the ma'ala, we know the greatness of someone that doesn't react when he's being humiliated. The Shekhinah comes down and says, for this man, the world is kayam. And at that moment, whatever beracha the person gives, at that specific moment, Akadosh Baruch Hu mekayem oto. The same way this person was mekayem the world, right? And he's the reason why the world is kayam. Then Akadosh Baruch Hu is mekayem the world with the request of that person. That's the power of being in control during times of humiliations. But to the level of the arum, of the clever. Any question on that pasuk?
I had the same question. Why didn't say emotions, but you just answered. So good.
Baruch Hashem. Tov. So we'll pause here. Be'ezrat Hashem, pasuk tet zayin. We finished. We learned perek Yud Bet, pasuk tet zayin. Siyata dishmaya.
Spectacular.